very handsome, very British, Mr. Paul Ashford. What's up, buddy?
Oh, it's good evening. I'm great. I'm really good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I am excited to talk about this week's film. So,
Yeah.
a little bit of backstory. We tried to record last week, and my USB interface decided to absolutely die. And
hmm
we can't have that happen. So, we kind of take a little bit of a break, and now we're here today to do all the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm excited because this film is a long time coming. It's a film that Paul loves, film that I love, featuring an actor, well, two actors that we both admire very, very much.
hmm
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that because first, I want to hear about Paul's holiday. Paul,
hmm
talk about it.
Yeah, man. I had an amazing time. Me and my girlfriend, we went to the island of Crete, which is a Greek island. We were there for 4 or 5 days, just had a short break. It was super hot. It was beautiful landscape. We got up to loads of exciting stuff, man. We did a pirate ship cruise, which was really cool. A sunset cruise. So we got to see the sunset on the island from a pirate ship. Probably my favorite thing. We went quad biking, which I'd never done before. She'd never done before. We both really got the hang of it. It was super cool. We drank lots of cocktails. We had lots of amazing Greek food, and we just got very, very hot. And we spent a lot of time exploring the old town. It's a beautiful old town in a place called Rifimno, which is where our hotel was. And boy, oh boy, did we see a lot of cats. And
Yeah,
if you don't know, I'm a cat lover. My girlfriend's a cat lover, and we were
huge.
cats everywhere, man. It was beautiful. Yeah, incredible. And we both desperately both want to go back, which is really cool. So yeah, no doubt we might even go there next year for all we know. But yeah, we had an amazing time. Our first proper holiday together, not including Germany,
Yeah.
when we go to her parents. So yeah, this is Anne is in the sun as well. My girlfriend's not usually a sun person, but she loved it. So yeah, amazing. We had a great time. How about yourself?
Man, I have been busy as hell at work, so my boss has been off, so I'm kind of the guy left in charge of all the marketing and website issues. So, of course, you know how things are with
hmm
as big as an organization that I work for, things tend to get kind of crazy. And this week has just been absolute crazy. So I haven't been able to do my normal commercial stuff, haven't been able to do the fun things, the fun parts of my job.
hmm
But it has allowed me a chance to be in front of the computer more, which has encouraged me to buy things like the Kino Lorbeer sale that went on, and I already got stuff. And I'll tell you what, I got quite the list of things like Columbo on Blu-ray, the entire series, Missing in Action trilogy, all three of those movies on Blu-ray, Suspect Zero on 4K, and that's just to mention like Big Man on Campus, which will probably be a future pick on for this podcast. I mean, that's just some. The Kino Lorbeer sale is like $10 Blu-rays. Go fucking check it out. And then, of course, Vinegar Syndrome announced new films on the 1st. Day of recordings the 2nd. Right meow. Right meow.
Yeah.
And, of course, I ordered those films. Awesome selection. Lots of films that I never heard of, but I'm a sucker for blind buying. If it's got a good synopsis, I'm probably going to buy it. If you guys can't tell from the background for you video viewers, my shelves are disappearing as the episodes progress. And that's a good thing because that means I can expand at some point. God help me. But yeah, things have been busy. Lots of movies, lots of things like that. Some projects are making progress and we're getting things done, which I'm excited about. But most excited about, I am talking about 1991's Drop Dead Fred, directed by Ate de Jong, who also did Highway to Hell,
hmm
CJ Graham's movie that he's in. He plays Hellcop. Ben Stiller's in the movie. Movie's awesome. Has Rob Lowe's brother. What's Rob Lowe's brother's name?
I don't know. I didn't
He
know.
doesn't know. So that means I don't know either. But it was also written by Carlos Davis and Anthony Fingleton. This movie, I'll tell you what. We're going to have so many things to say about this movie. Starring Rick Mahal as Drop Dead Fred. Rick Mahal. Paul?
Male. I say male.
Mahal? Rick
Male.
Mahal?
In the UK, we say male.
Mahal. Rick Mahal as Drop Dead Fred. Phoebe Katz, right? Katz? Kates? How do you say it?
Kate, you say cats. I love cats.
Okay. As Elizabeth. Marsha Mason as Polly. Tim Matheson as Charles. Fuck him. Carrie Fisher as Janny, and she looks hot with two T's.
Hmm.
Ronald Eddard as Mickey Bunce. You still there, Paul?
I am. I'm still here.
Technical glitches are just happening left and right. Shit happens. Paul, take it away.
I'm going to read that plot. Okay. Elizabeth Lizzie Cronin, a young woman whose life spirals out of control after her husband leaves her and she loses her job. In the midst of this chaos, Lizzie's mischievous childhood imaginary friend, Drop Dead Fred, reappears in her life, wreaking havoc and pulling her into a series of absurd and destructive situations. Fred, a wild and unpredictable force, drags Lizzie back to her unresolved childhood traumas and frustrations. As Lizzie navigates both her past and present with Fred's chaotic help, she slowly learns to take control of her own life, confronting her domineering mother and finding her independence.
What do you think of that plot, Paul?
Did you write that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah,
Okay.
I kind of guessed that was your spiel. Quite deep. Quite deep.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this movie's quite deep, man. When you sit back
You don't.
and be
Yeah.
like, hey, this isn't a kid's movie. This is like a movie for adults that's layered. You know, to quote, what is it? Donkey and Shrek. To quote, what is it? Yeah, ogres are like onions. You know, this movie's like an onion. It's got fucking layers, man. And you can watch it at face value, like, oh, it's a fucking kid's movie. But then you realize, like, no, this movie teaches you a lesson. And if you're a woman and you're like struggling with this sort of thing, or even if you're a man struggling with this sort of situation, this helps. You know, this is kind of like a, what do you want to say, commentary on trauma is the best way to say it. And we'll expand on that.
Yeah.
But
I think that's probably the reason the film maybe didn't do so well.
Yeah.
Because everyone thinks it's a kids' film. It's a kids' film, you know.
Way too gross to be a kids' film.
Yeah. Yeah, so it, in the UK it was rated 15, so you had to be 15 or over to watch this film in the UK.
Because of the snatch gags.
Yeah, so that instantly halved the audience, I'd imagine. Took away a lot of people that actually wanted to see it. And obviously, yeah, it's just it's a confusing. It's a bit like when someone tries to do a horror comedy.
We might as well mention that also it was kind of lost to time here for a while. Up until Vinegar Syndrome did a US release last year. No disc here.
No.
And the same for you guys. You kind of also just
we had a Blu-ray back in 2016.
Yeah, so and that's nothing special either, right?
No. I mean, it's fair. The movie never did that great in the UK, which is surprising considering it's got Rick Mail. He was massive in the UK. Obviously, he's British himself. He was a huge star. And
Guest House Paradiso, Bottoms.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. This came out around the same time as he was doing Bottom. So he'd already done the Young Ones, and Bottom was probably the huge show.
If you haven't watched that, it's on Amazon Prime. Go watch Bottoms. It is fantastic.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And it's Guest House Paradiso is kind of just like a long episode of that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because they were going to do Bottom the movie, and then they decided, no, we want to do something a bit different.
With a lot more vomit.
Yeah. But I remember this film coming out in the UK, and it was confusing because everyone knew Bottom at the time. It was about the same time as Bottom. Yet this one came out, and he's like, "Oh, what's Rick Mail doing in America? Oh, he's doing like an American film. What's going on here?" And then it got the 15 rating as well, and it clearly looked like a kids' film. Even from the trailer, it kind of looked like a kids' film. So it was a bit of a mismatch, I guess.
Director knows what he's doing. I mean, I'll tell you what, I love every single bit of this. Every shot, cinematography's done well, but I feel like to really make this film not too silly. I mean, it's silly where it needs to be, but for to pull off what they pull off here with the overall trauma tone or lesson they teach you, it's kind of like like an episode of Power Rangers or something, where the whole purpose of the plot is to teach you something. And I will reference another one of my favorite films that nobody talks about, and that is Amityville 1992. It's About Time, which is very similar to this. and nobody talks about that. We will talk about it. I'm going to
Mhm.
make Paul talk about it, and then Paul's going to watch it like 3 or 4 times and be like, "Oh shit." I'm telling you, Paul, you're gonna believe me, man. But anyway, there's films like this, and this is a perfect example of films that at a surface level look like something, and then
Yeah.
you watch it once, you watch it twice, you watch it 3 times. It means so much more. And for what is he Indian? Ate De Jong or something like that?
Mhm.
uh, for him to come in with a British actor, American actor, and this hybrid crew, and to absolutely pull off just a very unique hybrid toned movie like this is just truly amazing because
Mhm.
Phoebe and Rick both are just hitting on all fucking levels. Even Charles plays like the biggest douchebag you've ever seen. And then to add Carrie Fisher to this fucking cast, Carrie Fisher, when she's in her prime. This is like the
Mhm.
time where she's doing what's that movie that The Burbs, and
Yeah.
she's just so hot. I mean, and she's so well acted, and you believe her character. And the fact, yes, of course, she lives on a houseboat, and of course, it sings. It's just so cool. Her character. And then I love the Mickey character, the weird love interest that it doesn't really become a love interest because
Yeah.
you gotta understand this. You don't gotta move on right away.
Yeah.
It's about finding yourself and loving yourself and finding that independence through a breakup. And Mickey
Yeah.
was there to kind of remind her of her past. And I feel like if she didn't meet Mickey in this movie, we wouldn't have seen these events necessarily transpire in the way that it does, because at the end of the movie, it allows us to give us some sort of conclusion or
Mhm.
hope. And I feel like this movie, that's all it really could have given us was a little bit more hope. Paul?
Yeah. So the first time I watched this film, um, I I caught it on video when it came out to rent. I didn't sit in the cinema, and all that flew. What you've just said kind of flew over me. I
Mhm.
saw it as like a just a fun. I was like, oh, Rick Mel's in this. I need to watch this because I love Bottom. That was it pretty much, and it was
Yeah.
from the trailer. It was kind of a silly, not family. It kind of is a kid friendly family comedy, even though
Oh
it's
yeah.
never here. Um, And I just thought I just love seeing Rick Mail doing silly things or crazy things or stupid things. So that's how I watched the film. It didn't I just saw it nothing more than a fun kind of almost family friendly movie. And the fact I had Phoebe Cates in it as well was a mega bonus for me because I find her she's hot and she's a good actress as
I
well.
think she actually came out of retirement to do the insert in the Vinegar Syndrome release.
Oh really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. So I know she retired from acting, didn't she? So
There's a whole insert, as you can see, as I'm showing on the video feed
mhm.
in the Vinegar Syndrome release. That's kind of like an interview with Phoebe that kind of
No,
talks about making this film. And like Paul said, she's kind of been out of the limelight for so long. And
yeah, she retired, didn't she, from acting? So the first time I watched it, I didn't get the whole trauma side. I was more just like, this is just a fun film to watch.
Mhm.
Like I said, at the time, this would have been the early '90s, so
Yeah.
I probably caught it on video maybe a year or two after, so 92, 93 probably, after it had been out a little while. Again, for me, I was I still am a massive horror fan, but at that time in my life, I was really only interested in Freddy and Jason and slashers and monsters. So, but I did want to watch this purely because Rick Mail was in it. Was
Hey,
probably
Paul,
the thing.
I
Yeah,
wasn't alive yet.
really. Well, I'm old. So I got this on video and I thought, oh, that was fun. That was cool fun. And then I kind of forgot about the film. I knew of its existence, carried on watching Bottom. That went on for several seasons on
Yeah.
TV. Then Guest House Paradiso came out and Drop Dead Fred kind of disappeared, a bit like in the movie. He kind of disappeared from my life.
Yeah.
You kind of forget about it. And like we said, there was a Blu-ray release in 2016 in the UK, and that was it. We had
But not over here.
nothing in America until very recently when you get the glorious Vinegar Syndrome release. And that was kind of it for me with Drop Dead Fred. I was kind of like, oh, I prefer Bottom. I love the young ones, and I watched it once, and that was it. And then you said, well, you gave it to me, said, oh, we're going to do this one next. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, Drop Dead Fred. And it's kind of like a blast from the past,
Yeah.
almost like Phoebe Cates in the film. I'm going to rewatch it and bring Drop Dead Fred back into my life. And suddenly I rewatched it for the first time and I was like, boom, okay, this has got a lot more layers to it.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself relating a bit to Phoebe Cates' character.
Your situation. Yeah.
Lizzie. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. my relationship fell apart, and I literally went back to square one and had to
Mm.
find myself, as it were. And suddenly I'm relating to her, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And yeah, and I've watched it.
Cathartic.
I've watched it a few times now in the last couple of weeks. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's a great film. I absolutely love it. Um, but yeah, saying that first time I watched it, I just saw it as a jokey Rick Mail vehicle, I
But
guess.
of course we loved it. It's special effects heavy, and as kids we're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is fucking great!" And
Hmm.
Rick's funny. He got that physical comedy slapstick stuff down,
Yeah.
and Phoebe's believable. And of course, we even think she's cute when she's younger because she looks
Hmm.
younger. And it's the way the film carries itself. It has that lightheartedness, and then
Yeah.
whenever you get to like some of the more serious stuff, totally didn't click as kids, but when as adults, we're just like, oh shit, that's going on. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Fred's looking at what? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then it's really gross too.
Hmm.
Uh, and I like that because kids are gross, and I feel like this is like a realistic portrayal of the kid having the imaginary friend syndrome, or even looking at that situation as
Hmm.
a whole, because Fred definitely comes around in Elizabeth's life when she
Yeah.
needs it most, when her dad and her mom are having issues, or
Yeah.
her and her husband are having issues, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man. And,
Hmm.
I talked to Paul because that Vinegar Syndrome release, and it's also on YouTube for people who want to go see it. There is the like 30 minutes of deleted scenes from
Hmm.
this movie. And the fact that that happened in a movie that's what, hour 36,
Yeah.
hour 46, something like that, to remove any of Rick is just crazy.
Hmm.
Let alone the stuff that they did remove added exposition. Yeah, it doesn't need to be in the movie, but it adds more lore to the world of Drop Dead Fred, because we
Yeah.
see like this weird glimpse into it when we're at the psychiatrist's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
And I love that shot. I like that entire sequence because you realize that the kids can see their imaginary friends, the imaginary friends can see each other,
Hmm.
but the kids can only see theirs.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But that means that the imaginary friends live on their own like plane of existence. So in the deleted scenes, Paul, I believe, has watched these, so I can
Hmm.
talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you actually get to see Drop Dead Fred's quote world, and it gives you more of that. What do you want to say? You understand Fred a little bit more. You
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
why these characters, I mean, imaginary friends, are existing, and
Hmm.
they're funny fucking dudes. Every single one of them are just absolutely hilarious. I can't
They're
remember some of
scary
their
looking
names
as
right
well.
now. I wish we could have wrote them down as they were
Yeah. Yeah.
happening, because you
One of
get to
them's
hear them.
scary looking, man. The guy's got like the plastic hair.
Yeah,
He is scary looking.
the dude with the crazy stuff, that crazy hair and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The whole thing's just absolutely rad.
Hmm.
But and then of course another thing that they removed was a really funny bathroom gag that included uh, Fred swapping dresses of Elizabeth's, and she's in the bathroom trying on this dress and realizing that and talking to Fred, but she's not alone in the bathroom. But to anybody else that's in the bathroom, she's just talking to herself.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because there's a really funny wide shot of the bathroom of a lady looking in the mirror, and you see the stall with Phoebe standing in it, and she's just talking to herself. And the lady's like, "What the fuck is going on? What is happening?" And like that totally could have been in the film. Like I said, some of the exposition didn't need to be in there. It's cool that it exists there, but Rick gags, keep in there, buddy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
What do you think,
It's
Paul?
almost like they dialed him down a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's to get the PG-13. I presume it's PG-13. Is it in the US or PG?
Yeah. PG-13, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, lucky in the UK to get that hit of the 15 was really unlucky. Happened with quite a few films through that sort of time as well. Um, just completely limits the audience, and obviously a lot of the time in the UK films will get cut to get a PG rating.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so many examples, but yeah, for some reason this one didn't take any cuts and it came in at 15, and I think that really hurt its potential over here, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it is a great film, and I love. I love the character Drop Dead Fred. I love how he interacts with Phoebe Cates, but I love how he also interacts differently when she's a child to when she's an
Yes.
adult. Obviously, when she's an adult, he's a lot more
Snot
grim. Frank.
face. But there's
Yeah.
there's consistencies there as well.
Hmm.
And I like that he's repulsed by some of the
Yeah.
stuff that she does as an adult, because Fred has that kid mentality.
Yeah.
But also, like, when Charles is actively cheating on Phoebe, no, Elizabeth,
Lizzie.
sorry,
Yeah.
after the supposed get together, and
Right.
Fred's pointing that out, he's helping her, like,
Yeah.
hey, and this is at the same point that Elizabeth's taking the green pills, which
Yeah. That's traumatic.
it
When
is,
he takes the
and
green
that
pill,
whole sequence
he
is kind of fucked
he
because,
gets really ill. You see it. He gets really like ill in his face, doesn't he? Drop Dead Fred does
and if
after
you take
taking the green
Fred
pill.
as a projection of herself, as she loses herself, her sense of
Mhm.
self, and takes more of these pills, the less of herself she becomes.
Yeah,
She
she
just
like
becomes,
shuts down. She
yeah.
shuts down, doesn't she? And he's trying to talk to her, and she's not
And Fred's
listening.
slowly disappearing, and it's so
Yeah,
sad.
it's dark. It's dark.
Because you don't want Fred to go away, because he's the good guy in this movie, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. But some amazing gags.
Oh, the fridge, dude. The
Yeah.
fridge. The mega bitch puts his head in the fridge, and we get Hey Arnold looking motherfucker,
Yeah.
and it's so cool.
Does remind me of I think one of the Leprechaun movies did a similar gag, didn't they? I think it
Mhm,
was Leprechaun in Space,
mhm.
possibly, when they crushed his face like that and did the same sort of pancake thing. And we almost got it in Ghoulies Go to College as well, with the frying pan to the face. It was
Yes,
famously cut, even though the screenshot was on the back of the video case in the UK. But yeah, there's such great effects. Um, I love how when she sneezes, Fred bounces around the room almost like a
and
ping pong
for
ball.
1992, well,
Mhm.
1990, for that effect to exist, that bouncing around the room, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
That's crazy. Like, that's technical effects out the ass,
yeah.
and that's hard to do.
Well,
So, kudos.
I haven't talked about the credits at the start. So I watched this with my girlfriend for the first time. She'd never seen it, and we're just the intro with the credit with the the
Artistic.
yeah, it's like cartoon kids drawings, and she was like, "Oh, that's something you don't see." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, it's true, you
What
don't."
did
And
Jules think of the movie?
she really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
She thought it was funny. She thought it was funny. She didn't know who Rick Mail was. Literally did
Oh,
not know who Rick Mail was.
isn't
So
he like a national icon?
yeah, so she's only been in the UK for a
Oh,
number of
she's
years.
German. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, but I was shocked. I was like, really? I thought everyone knew Rick Mail, kind of thing.
She's
So
more likely to know who Rammstein is than
yeah,
Rick.
exactly. So she will be watching Guest House Paradise at some point, and
Hmm.
hopefully some bottom or young ones.
Vinegar Syndrome also did a release of that.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, which is surprising. They must have a Rick Mail thing going on. Maybe they'll
I'm
maybe they'll
okay
do a
with that. My daughter loves Rick, so.
yeah, maybe they'll do a bottom box set. Who knows?
Oh, don't tease. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, just that intro was really cool. It all hand drawn, like the girl, like
Yes.
almost like Lizzie's child drawing it all. I thought it was super cool.
It puts you in
Um,
the tone for the
yeah,
intro. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, One thing I love, obviously, the Blu-ray transfer looks amazing, and I think 80s and 90s films really, really benefit from high definition because this is a very 90s film. The fashion's very 90s. Fred's outfit is super bright, and he wears different outfits, doesn't he, in different scenes. So he's got his bright green suit get
When
up,
they're dressed up. Oh
orange
my
hair.
god.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When he goes to the ball with her, he's got that giant outfit on.
He almost looks like a troll doll with his hair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when he goes to Carrie Fisher's boat, he's got like the
Yes.
pirate outfit. I think when I watched that on VHS, you don't all that color and stuff. You don't. Well, you never saw it on VHS.
It's a
You wouldn't have seen.
visually enjoyable film
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. And
those colors are
pop.
so awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they really pop now. And I think that's the same for a lot of 80s and 90s films. They just pop like anything now on Blu-ray or 4K if we're lucky enough, which we never ever would have got back in the days unless you saw the movie in the cinema.
Yes.
So obviously, a lot of films I saw on VHS and that color was gone. It was washed out and gone.
Thank
Never.
God the stuff that happens now with our
Hmm.
restored 4K versions. Vinegar Syndrome just did a Lost Slasher movie. It's like a Native
Hmm.
American slasher film.
Yeah.
And I got it only
Hmm.
because they said
Of course
like
you
there's only been a VHS release of it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hop on that shit. So,
did.
I love that whole restoration thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Lost to time, lost to space. Where the fuck did it go? It was such a disgrace. Anyway, uh,
Have you got a favorite scene with Fred or favorite?
dude, I lost it when he went under the mega bitch and did the
Oh,
cobwebs gag.
I was literally
And
that's what I was going
then
to.
we see the repeat of that gag, but with like a really attractive girl
Oh,
at
we didn't
the
even mention who that was. Do
who
you know who
was
that
that?
actress was?
No.
That was Bridget Fonda.
What?
Yeah, just popping in there. Yeah, I was like, wow,
Stunning.
it's Bridget Fonda.
Yeah.
um, yeah, just again, there's another crazy bit of a theme in this movie.
Charles sell cars?
Sorry.
Charles sells cars, right?
Yeah, he's a car salesman because he takes
A girl.
there's another hot blonde in there that he wants to
Jaguar?
get for a drive. Yes, yep,
Yeah,
Jaguar,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Jaguar salesman.
So, okay, as a guy that works in the automotive industry,
Mhm.
not everybody's sleazy like Charles. Okay, maybe Jaguar dealers. I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm not. We don't do the luxury thing where I work, but with the exception of Cadillac. But I love how he does the whole. They do the whole. Tim Matheson's a fantastic actor, and
Mhm.
I mentioned it briefly at the beginning how great the acting is in this movie, and he's just such a
Yeah,
good bad guy. You love to hate Charles
yeah,
because you see him actively being a douche canoe the entire movie, and just
yeah,
giving you reason after reason after reason after reason to hate this guy. And then Phoebe just is just like, oh no, Elizabeth loves him,
oh
and
no,
oh, and you're just like, ah,
yeah,
no. And I love that dichotomy in the movie because it makes you be like, stop
yeah,
doing this to yourself. And I love it because Tim is such a good bad guy. And
yeah.
I love how he's like just the sleazy car salesman. And he makes that so believable. And I
Mhm.
love that. I love that whole part of the movie because
It's,
it just, yeah, it's so
it's
cool.
yeah, her life literally hits rock bottom. It's not just the divorce either. It's the start of the film when she's
She doesn't even have a checking account.
no.
She can't get money without this guy. She,
Obviously,
yeah, it's
the car
fucked.
gets stolen, her wallet gets stolen, her purse gets
Mhm.
stolen. I mean, everything happens right at the start of the film. It's like literally anything that could possibly happen to her goes wrong.
Mhm.
Even when she first meets Mickey, he puts his bag down and she trips over that with all her stuff in her hands, coming out of the court. Um, yeah, she's just like there is, and then she goes and lives with her mum. It's just like her life has gone to complete zero. But you do really feel for her. You do kind of you want to get behind her, and I guess that's obviously why Fred reappears in her life,
Mhm.
and then the movie goes from there.
I
Um,
love that. So, spoiler alert, by the end of the film, we kind of get the resolution because she
mhm,
finally, through awesome dream sequences, absolutely excellent dream sequences, we see this character progression that we rarely see in films today, where Elizabeth confronts all of these bad things in her life through the metaphors of a dream and
mhm,
is able to overcome these. And because she's able to do this, she's able to let go of Fred. Fred disappears. And essentially because she doesn't need Fred there. And it essentially Fred's only appears to these people or her when they
yeah,
need him the most.
mhm,
Which like I said earlier, the Mickey character kind of is there to make this story really work because at the end of the film, when we're getting the kind of happy feelings that we get with these comedy films for the little tight, meaty end, uh, we see not Rick, but Drop Dead Fred transfer to another girl, a younger girl who is going through a similar problem.
Yeah.
Her dad's divorced from her mom. She's feeling very lonely. And you see Elizabeth interacting with this little girl to say, "Hey, say hi to Fred to me." And it's cool because it just doesn't give you closure on Elizabeth. It gives you closure on Fred because
Yeah.
Fred's just not gone. He's not dead,
Yeah.
despite his name being Drop Dead Fred. He is helping another person through another traumatic event in their life. And I love that because it makes Fred the personification of this thing.
Yeah.
And as a person who loves the whole, let's make a story around a feeling or an event or something like this. I made a whole comic book about the feeling of paranoia. This is the whole story or movie about trauma
Yeah.
and the breakup process. And I love that they use the metaphor of Fred, and Fred is able to transfer to another person afterwards. So it continues to go, which goes on to your notes here
Yeah.
about a sequel. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So a sequel was planned, but apparently to begin with, Rick Mail didn't want to return.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if it's because the film didn't do that well, or he's busy doing Bottom. Because, like I said, Bottom had several seasons going for it.
4?
So they actually had Jim Carrey in line to replace him for a sequel. But he actually was too busy doing Ace Ventura, apparently. Well, obviously, we knew he did Ace Ventura. So can you imagine a Drop Dead Fred 2 with with Jim Carrey? I don't know, that would be pretty wild. It wouldn't be the same. I don't think it would bring the same quality that Rick Mail brought it. But it'd be an interesting one. I don't know if you're still there. It says I'm still going. Rick Mail apparently was interested to come back years later. Unfortunately, they started talking about it. They started getting some ideas together.
He was sick by then.
Unfortunately, I was about to say, he ill health came along, and again he had to drop out, and obviously he very sadly passed away. And scary to think about now, but there was talk of a reboot with Russell Brand taking
He's
the role
okay.
of Fred. Yeah. You can kind of, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that. To be fair,
Yeah, he's probably
obviously,
the best modern equivalent of Rick.
yeah, and that was set to go ahead, but obviously one of his big movies that he did was Arthur, which completely flopped
I could
everywhere.
see Rick, if he was alive today, going against how everything is progressed in
Life,
Hollywood and everything.
yeah,
The
Hollywood,
same way
yeah,
Russell has. You know what I mean? I just see you know what I mean? Just the way that those characters are. Like, well, the people are. Them the people were characters themselves. Like when like Rick and Russell and you see interviews with them, those people were characters.
yeah.
And just to see I can see them interacting the same way Jim Carrey's interacting with people. They're so happy and vibrant on screen. And then whenever the real drab real life hits you, you're just kind of like, fuck everybody. But
I think Russell Brand would have brought more adult to it. I think it would have been R rated.
Oh yeah.
Over here.
What's that movie he did? Arthur. He did the movie.
Arthur is around the same time as Arthur, but Arthur was a huge flop. I've never even watched that one myself. That was like a remake of the Dudley Moore movie, right?
Yep.
So unfortunately that was dropped because it wasn't the big hit they wanted it to be. And that was kind of that. I think I can't imagine seeing a remake coming now, this far down the line.
It would ruin it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. One thing I see a lot of people saying it's a knockoff of Beetlejuice. So Beetlejuice is around the same.
Yeah, it is in no way, shape, or form as Beetlejuice. I wish Beetlejuice was this fucking deep, and I wish Beetlejuice actually taught us a lesson. But the only thing it teaches us to do is not repeat a fucking demon's name 3 times and then allow Michael Douglas to go, hey. But yeah.
Michael Keaton.
No, he doesn't go by that name anymore.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. My bad. Michael Douglas.
I'm ahead of the curve.
Isn't it
He's
Michael Douglas Keaton? He
yeah.
says now.
We
I
stopped
think it's
for a
a bit
drink there.
unfairly seen as a Beetlejuice knockoff because it was around the same time. But
Mhm.
I love Beetlejuice, so but I love Drop Dead Fred as well. So
Beetlejuice
obviously,
is great, but it is in no way, shape, or form in the
no,
same
no, it's
realm
not.
of this.
I think you just if you watch the trailers, oh, it's a zany, crazy guy with big hair or whatever. So that's about the only thing you can compare the two.
One's
Obviously,
dead.
yeah, Beetlejuice did mega money and Drop Dead did not, unfortunately, at the box office. Um,
That's because people are stupid.
yeah, I've seen a few people as well say it's a reverse Freddy Krueger.
No,
Obviously,
because
it's a new line film as well, isn't it? It is a new
Freddy
line
killed
cinema film.
children. Fred helps children.
Yeah, both called Fred.
Ah, yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You
They're
just
both in your dreams a bit as well. So,
yeah.
and they're both New Line Cinema. So obviously, New Line Cinema was
If
the
you go
house
by
of
the
Freddy.
true reverse, then yes, you were right.
Yeah, yeah,
Except then he
almost.
would be real then if it was the true reverse, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you're talking New Nightmare.
Yeah,
Drop Dead Fred's New Nightmare,
we'll
where he's
probably
pretty
never
shit.
talk that movie. Uh
Yeah, that was the first Freddy film I got to see in the cinema.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously, you had to be
We'll
18
we'll
years old.
talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street, but I feel like that's just like a whole episode dedicated to itself, and
Hmm.
not talking about each film individual.
Oh god,
Uh,
yeah.
everybody's done that, and of course, I have my feelings. You have your feelings,
Hmm.
and then of course, the listeners have their feelings. But I want to know how you would rate this film, Paul.
uh, f- Easy 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Easy 4 out of 5. Like I said, the first time I watched it back in the 90s, I thought it was fun. I
Mhm.
thought it was a Rick Mail trying to break into Hollywood kind of thing. Maybe a little bit tamed down, or no, a bit more Americanized, a bit more not Americanized, a bit more world friendly as humor.
Yeah,
Obviously, Bottom is very British, and like there's probably a lot of it you watch it like, what the heck are they talking about, kind of
especially
thing.
the slang and
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
it was like him trying to break into Hollywood. I would definitely easily give it a 4 nowadays with the layers you mentioned, with the whole. When I rewatched it, I was like, oh my god, this is deep, and I could relate to Phoebe Cates' character. So yeah, easy 4 for me. I just wish we could get a decent Blu-ray release in the UK, or more people could see this film because it is super good. Um, so I was going to talk about Mickey Bunce. I forgot to mention
Mickey, yes.
he is such a good character, but he is super, super, super nice. I don't know if they did that on purpose because obviously Charles was horrible in any shape and form, whereas
Have you ever
Mickey,
met anybody like that? Some people are like super nice.
yeah, he is like super nice. But even there's the scene when he wants to take her on a date and he takes her to the restaurant, and obviously Fred's there, and she's like throwing food around, and you'd expect to get up and
Well,
leave.
I feel like he's being super nice because he himself just also went through a traumatic event, and
Well, it's true, yeah.
yeah, he's
Or
seeing this
also,
opportunity with Elizabeth as a chance to maybe start fresh.
yeah, and she's like there just smashing plates on the floor, and
Yeah,
he's
because
like,
she's full on. I'm still in the middle of my problems because my
yeah.
husband left me and my mom's back. So
So you'd expect the person to be like, okay, I'm out. I don't know what you're doing. I'm leaving. But he's like, oh, I love how crazy you are. What you're doing. He
yeah,
starts doing it as well, and then obviously it's him that gets thrown out of the restaurant. But yeah, every scene he's in, he's like super, super, super nice. And my girlfriend took a bit of a fancy to him as well for some reason. I think she likes his earring. He's got like an
uh,
earring, and it's just a real sort of 90s look. But yeah, every scene he's in, he's super nice. And I know you mentioned about Drop Dead Fred moving on at the end. That's
yeah.
actually Mickey's daughter, isn't it? At the end of the
Is it?
film, yeah, he moves onto
Yeah,
her, and obviously that's because Phoebe can't see him, but the
yeah,
daughter can. So that kind of suggests that Fred's still going to be in Phoebe's or
yeah,
Lizzie's life,
yeah.
but she just
Yeah.
can't see him, which is super cool. But yeah, Mickey Bunce, I thought he was a really good character. Every single scene, he doesn't do anything wrong. He's like he just pops up, and it starts off with
You know something I realized recently? We don't get a lot of kids in movies anymore.
no, I guess not.
We don't get kids TV shows with like a lot of kids in them. Like the Disney Channel's not pumping them out.
No,
Nickelodeon's not pumping them out. We're not getting like movies like Stand by Me and shit anymore.
we got
And
Stranger Things.
we got Stranger Things, but those are still even older kids. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah,
are like
they're old now,
early
aren't they?
20s,
So,
maybe
yeah,
even at this
yeah,
point. And it's just weird. I mean, I understand that late 90s, early 2000s, the kind of the what do you want to say, the drama and some of the kind of the stigma that surrounds child acting and stuff
Yeah.
like that is like, not every producer is a fucking weirdo. Not every producer is some gonna fucking ruin things. I mean, this
No.
movie's a good example of that. You can
Mhm.
make a movie, have kids in it, and it not just be an absolute fucking train wreck after the fact. Uh, and I'd like to see movies like this made again, but like I said, we don't see movies touching on topics like this, and I feel
No, we
like it would be too politicized in today's modern climate, especially in Hollywood. I mean, if this movie is made in the UK, yeah, that's one thing. But if it's made in
yeah.
the Hollywood climate, everything's politicized, everything's divisive, and I just feel like it's lost. The whole point of the story is lost. I will say that the closest thing that we got to the complexity of this is I saw the TV Glow, just because it
Mhm.
actually makes you think about yourself and some of the situations, self-reflect, one could say, on some of the things that we've gone through ourselves. And
Mhm.
and it's a lost art form, having cinema make you think about your own life. And I
Yeah.
feel like having more, and it's true art. I mean, that's art, right?
Mhm.
Is to create something that makes the viewer, the listener, react in such a way that it stays in their brain, stays in their
Yeah.
memory, and makes them think or relate to them and on a very conscious or even subconscious level. And this film, I think, hits on all of those things. It's like a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I feel like this movie should be talked about more.
Mhm.
This movie should be in, like, hey, if you're going through trouble, watch Drop Dead Fred. It's going to make you feel better,
Yeah.
because it's a part of life. Breaking up with your partner, having that grief, having that situation, and feeling the way that Elizabeth does. I want to go back because we have the safety of that situation. Maybe it's not always the answer. It's
Mhm.
it's about loving yourself. It's about finding the independence to go out and be able to make a living on your own, to have your own home, to be able to some along
Yep. Back
yeah,
again. Out for a
along
sec.
the lines of a very layered comedy through the lens of flashback sequences and a slew of other things. But
Mhm.
it teaches us that relationships don't have to be the end of an existence. And I like
No.
that.
Also, like everyone cheats as well, which is
Yeah,
a bit
there's a whole layer of, hey,
is
maybe
even
not
Carrie
love is
Fisher.
what it seems to be. You know
Even
what I mean?
Carrie Fisher was cheating. You find out in the movie she was
Yeah.
cheating with the guy, and she has that scene with Fred as well when she's like trying to pin him down and hit him on the floor, and then she shouts out that she's seeing the guy. I
Yeah.
forgot the guy's name, and just like, oh yeah, it's just crazy.
Fred truly sets everyone free.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Fucking A. Man, this has been an absolutely great conversation about Drop Dead
Mhm.
Fred. I mean, what could you really ask for more? Next week we will be talking about Vinegar Syndrome's big ass new month announcements. We'll be talking about the Kino Lorbeer sale.
Yeah.
I will be giving you all my recommendations. I mentioned a couple at the top of the episode, but I'll give you so much more because that site is filled. I got a couple Claude Chabrol films I want to dip into over the next
Mhm.
couple of days going into the weekend that I'm definitely going to report on. And now, Paul, you did watch the Electric Boogaloo documentary on Canon, which
Oh
prompted me to
yes.
do the same thing the
Oh
day
yeah.
after. Absolutely fantastic, and that
Mhm.
definitely influenced me buying all those Canon films that I got in the Kino Lorber sale. So
Mhm.
thank you for that, Paul. That entire documentary was fantastic, and the
Yeah.
fact that it ends with them saying that no, actually, the founders of Canon did a documentary,
Didn't know
and it
anyone.
came out 3 months prior, and then I went and looked it up. There's an MVD release of that documentary, and it's so cool that that's actually a thing. So I want to watch that now.
Mhm.
That's called the Go Go Boys, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
I've watched quite a few Canon films in the last week, even though I've been
mhm.
on holiday.
It makes you
Uh,
want to go back and see that because Chuck Norris,
yeah.
Charles Bronson, so
Mhm.
fucking good. And then hopefully we'll get an opportunity to talk about that. I mean, maybe we'll do the Death Wish films because Paul's never really seen them, and I'm like
No,
the Bronson guy. Like I
hmm
love Bronson. I know I don't really talk about it much
I mean,
because I never
they
really had an
give Death Wish
opportunity.
2 a
But
pretty bad rep in that documentary,
yeah,
to be
I
fair.
mean, Charles Bronson is an underrated talent that I feel like somebody should talk about. I mean, there's 2 books
Mhm,
about him. I know that there's the guy that's Bronson's on the Loose or Bronson's on the Loose again, something like that. The book's name. And the guy put out a book about all of his films and stuff. But I feel like Bronson as a whole needs to have to be really reevaluated through a modern lens because he was more than just the Canon Films guy. He
mhm.
was a fantastic actor and he was that action star that everyone needed to be. And I will talk about that in future episodes of Celluloid Psychosis. This has been a fun episode. Paul, thank you for joining me on another fun episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us. And thank you, Algeria, for having us in your fucking iTunes charts for the last month straight. Paul loves it. We're going to go
Mhm.
holiday there, and we're going to be the biggest star since David Hasselhoff. I can't wait. You can't wait. And I can't wait for the next episode. I'm TJ Bowser. That's Paul Ashford. See you guys then.